running in late. Okay, ready? Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the July 1st meeting of Conservation Advisory Council. It's now like 7:01, so we're going to get started. Okay. First thing we have is to review the meeting, minutes of the meeting from the last time, June 3rd. Any questions or changes by anybody?
I'm good.
No, they look fine to me.
Okay, so
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't here.
You are yes.
Right. You can't in good conscience comment, right?
4-0, I see. Okay. 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 So that was easy. Now, next one is the wetlands application at 74 Peconic Avenue. You want me to first give my, see what everybody, my list is quite long, unfortunately, but. Okay, the first thing I have is the site survey does not show the LPG tank next to the basement entrance, or what is LP and ST not indicated to be removed. And now the LP I know is probably a light post, but there's no definition on the plans what it is. And I would say that ST is the septic tank. But plans, so should be indicated on the plan, so we know what it is. Drawing CO.1 is the proposed site plan. On that one, I have first item is to move the pool equipment and relocated AC units out of the 100-foot setback. You have to move it out of that, so meet the code that we say. And it's moved the IA on the waste tank out of the 100-foot setback. That's over here on the left-hand side of the plan. I think they can move it. I wish Peter was here, but when he comes, I'll ask him. Because it's kind of tight over there, but they could, we shouldn't be. Okay. Next one is new deck pergola in the 75-foot setback. It's adding 400 and something square foot to the AIA. So we're not going to accept that in there. Next item is there's no new cable shown on the plan. They showed a new electric, but not a cable. I was sure they're going to have cable. It's not indicated, so I just wondered.
You mean by cable?
Telephone cable, you know. Communication cable.
Oh, I got you.
You might not have one.
Well, that's overhead though, isn't it?
Yeah, but the other one, it looks like it's on the underground here, coming in, the electric, so why wouldn't they dig it next to it? I don't know. But anyway, it's not indicated.
I think when you have an electric service line and then you put communication line too close, you get a lot of interference.
Certainly.
So I think there's got to be probably, question would be, how far is the separation? How big is this trench going to be?
Exactly.
You're going to be like 4 feet away, then the trench is going to be much bigger.
And also, I mean, if you put one in metal conduit, and you don't need the shielding. Because,
Again, it may be overhead.
yeah,
Because I think new electric service has to be underground from LIPA. I'm not sure though.
no, you can pay extra, but it's all yours then, overhead.
On the street end?
Yeah, but this is from the street in underground.
Right.
That's what we should have on there. Okay. New outside shower, have a drain or enclosure around it. Now, it does say somewhere on these plans that there is a drain, but it's not consistent, so. It's on the east side of the building. He's putting a new outside shower. I want that clarified. Should go to on the coverage setback, he says outdoor shower drain to dry well. But on the plan showing the proposed site, which it should be on, it doesn't show it. Let's see, where was I here? No 20 square foot step in 75-foot setback. He's adding a new step. And this thing is move the new dry wells out of the 100-foot setback. It's not here. It hasn't been here the last week either.
No, he wasn't, right.
Surprised me.
It is surprising, yeah.
But anyway, you can look at it. Okay, say submit.
Reading this measurements, right?
Submit site plan, the same scale as site survey. What I have here, you got the site survey is 1 inch equals 20, and then the site plan is 1 inch equals 30. Now, you try to look at what it is together, and it's confusing. They should just do that, so.
This whole thing is 75 feet, right?
Well, here's the 75 right through the middle of the house.
So what are we talking about?
Not much.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll go about that. Let me finish this, and then Bill, you could take that, so. Architectural drawings should have north arrows on them. It's a beautiful set of drawings by they have, but no north arrows on the plan, so. Not that we couldn't figure it out, and we usually don't get the architectural plans anyway for review, but they're here. Submit approved health department plans for new IA. They usually have a red markup set of plans that it means that they know what they're doing and they have it all set up. It's approved by the Department of Health. So that hasn't been submitted. Okay.
There's no plan, Howard, or just?
They have a little, on the proposed site plan, they show the system, but
Actual permit.
the actual permit and red line is what we want to see, because I could draw that. I don't know. I'd rather have the health department. We always ask for that, so. Sixth item are the existing hedges and drip system, which is attached inside of them, going to remain, or are we going to get replaced by the new that is shown on the vegetation plan? Now, the drip system, I mean, it's probably just put in to get them growing, you know, it's a temporary thing. Usually when you put any hedge in, you put the, and then just disconnect it. I don't know, according to the plan, which is by White Oak Farm, which is, it's a beautiful plan of everything. But unfortunately, again, there's certain things that I'm missing. They show a hedge privet. I don't know on that. Let's see. Coordinate vegetation plan with White Oak Farm and garden plans. That's the lawn is completely different, the lawn coverage, from what the vegetation plan shows. something is missing here. Next item is include all work indicated on advisory report by Teresa Mason on proposed plan. She has a whole list that she's very thorough as town's consultant. It's online if you want to see it. She's very thorough, basically. Something, she goes into more detail, and we usually just say silt fence, and she goes into how deep to bury it and everything. So
Yes.
it's very thorough. So it's good. So I say, you know, we should follow that and include that on the plans. Then I say resubmit drawings after zoning board approval is obtained. It's going to the zoning board because of the setbacks side, and it hasn't gone there yet.
As it goes there.
No, so either it's premature, but I figured we have it, we might as well make our comments. And then if it changes anything, they can have to resubmit anyway. So,
But
yeah, you know, just a heads up, really. So that was my items on that. I don't know if, Ulrich, what were you saying? Is there anything else?
I don't know, I have to refresh my memory of the code. So they're saying reconstructing, building a new house. Is
They're getting a
that,
second floor.
is that,
Existing
Just a
floor plan.
second.
and the rest disappears when you ultimately look.
Oh, I thought it was entirely new. Yeah, that was my interpretation. Right, same floor.
You can find,
Yeah.
It's basically,
so is that considered grandfathered? I think it
the
is.
footprint is.
No, once you take a building down,
To take the building
I
down,
think it's
even
only
if you
taking the-
do it gradually, so I'm taking this part up, build this new, take this off, build this new. The way they're constructing it's probably relatively easy to do, so they're replacing a non-compliant house with a bigger non-compliant house. I really, at this point, I think the silt fence is a minor concern.
Well, if you look at the denial report done by town, it says second floor addition is in the vegetation buffer zone, but, and the roof deck, and demolition of first floor deck. So they list a whole bunch of items that has to be taken care of.
But the whole house is in 75 essentially.
Oh, it's all in 75, it's pre-existing there.
Yeah, but pre-existing, when I take it down, it doesn't look.
Not taking the most down.
Oh,
the first
Sure
floor,
they're
they're
not?
not, they're not taking,
they're not
they're
taking-
gonna reconfigure, I think, the floor plan, but I think the
Yeah,
base
inside, but the
floor.
outside and the foundation is existing.
foundation's gonna stay.
Yes.
The foundation is going to stay, but I mean.
That's it.
And the first floor,
I
they're gonna
couldn't- I
reconfigure.
couldn't put a second floor in my garage because the studs weren't.
Oh, you mean?
That's engineering.
That's engineering, that's by the,
If the engineer says you can build on top, then you're good to go.
No, I get that. But if it's not sufficient, then you're not leaving the first floor.
Well,
You're building
there
a new
have been
first floor. to
occasions
put
where
second
people
one.
say, we're gonna leave this and we're gonna build that, and then you go by and you drive, the whole house is gone.
Yeah,
Then they get a stop work order, then they come back.
yeah.
So if they're gonna play that game where the house all of a sudden disappears, then they don't, their permit's revoked.
yeah,
Get a
that's
stop
the
work order,
building
then they
department.
have to go back to all the, then they have to go back to DEC, they have to go back
There's
to the
some
wetlands.
stuff where the game, sort of, the town didn't win that game. I'm not.
Oh,
But I can tell you a number of instances where we put a stop work order on a house and it was a couple of years. And maybe there are circumstances that,
I don't know
Different from that.
why we're not, why aren't we starting and saying no to this type of stuff?
because
We keep etching.
it's not by the code. It's to say no to it.
What do you mean it's not by the code?
If you build on the existing foundation, that's in the 75-foot, you can.
I thought it was the structure, not the foundation.
Well,
That's why I said you need to look at,
Can we pull up the code?
I need to look at the code again.
Yeah.
well,
Jess, can you get the code for us on this? Because, yeah, I'm not sure either. It's a really good point that we ought to get right. So let's look at the code. I would,
Again, I don't think they have a by right allowance to remove the whole house and rebuild in the same place. But that's not what the situation
That's
is.
not what it is. You gotta read what
The
the,
factor with the situation is gonna be when they start doing this in practicality. We all know that this is not gonna
That's-
go up the way it finally is supposed to look. This is not gonna go up on this little house that's there now. This is I mean, they all figured out how to do this.
They can always make a stipulation on the building permit that the first floor structure will remain the same except for the deck, whatever it is they're doing to the deck. Because the deck, they're saying they're gonna build a new 414 square foot deck to replace an existing 414 square foot. So they're looking for an in-kind thing where they want a new deck. It's not gonna be the same as the old deck, but the square footage is the
the architectural plans.
so that's something that we can look at too, because it's not gonna be the big square guy that they have on the existing. It's gonna be more linear with the house, which probably would be better. Because it seems like they're gonna hold a better setback. Yeah, they're gonna go from 49, you're gonna go from 44 feet to 49 feet, so they're giving
They
up.
indicate on the architectural plans what's gonna be removed. And if these plans are not correct,
And if they stop you with that, then they get a stop work order and they don't get the bill. And they have to, like I say, then they have to go back to the state. I'm gonna tell you what, that's gonna set them back a year.
it's like a couple of years to build it anyway, but whatever it is,
But the DEC, you know, you just don't go, oh, yeah.
There is no DEC letter of compliance on this either. That's another.
It's a letter of non-jurisdiction.
Yeah, there's not. But it should have that, we should have that. Because it's a high site, it's over 12-inch bulkhead, but they should have a confirmation. Put that down. DEC.
So I think the proposal here is to add a second floor, put a second floor deck, reconfigure an existing deck that's 49.6 feet from the bulkhead. But again, you're saying there's drywalls are gonna be installed.
Yes. They're gonna redo the whole interior, but
The building itself is gonna stay, they're saying.
doesn't say they're gonna do anything to shell in a building.
so removal of older outdated construction and replacement with new code compliant construction, what does that mean? I'm on page 6. It's under mitigation measures, but
Oh, in the
yeah,
permit.
so I don't know what they're retaining existing foundation significantly reduces damage to the site. Existing building. It is existing, the proposed work is reconstruction of existing work. It says reconstruction of existing work that is within regulated area. What does that mean? It sounds like it's within the,
It is within the 75 foot, and you gotta work that with the architectural plans,
right,
and they detail exactly what they're doing, which is in the package. And we usually don't get that anyway, but it's quite thorough. And I didn't see anything wrong with that.
But I would agree, I mean, if they're gonna knock the whole house down, then yeah, they gotta,
when I read it, I thought they were.
again,
Maybe just because it says things like project utilizes existing foundation, limiting damage to property and nearby wetlands. I mean, it just, new construction enables installation of, new work will be compliant with the building codes. I don't know. I mean, I read it that way.
right. Seems to
But I
be a
don't
little bit of
know.
this, a little bit of that.
We can
You know, it's
clarify
typical
that.
wood frame.
To clarify.
Old one was built when it's a 2x4 stud structure. You can't build a second floor on a 2x4.
The old one was real 2x4s. The word 2x4 today is not 2x4.
Yeah, well, they're reconstructing them, so they're
But
Yeah, yeah.
not gonna be old anymore.
But it says right here, existing foundation, removal of older outdated construction,
What do you
replacement.
plan to do? Removal of existing single-family dwelling. Retain most of the existing foundation, floor deck, and portion of the first floor walls. I think that's exactly what you're saying.
It doesn't delineate which wall.
Doing, yeah, you're
Well, even want
You're gonna leave a little bit of a wall
they
to
do
get
that.
around the code.
It's the sort of the sequential, you always keep just enough that it's an alteration.
Construct new dwelling on the same footprint. New second floor over portion of building. I mean, I certainly think that that's what the intention is.
That's what he says it is, describe the project. right?
That's the description of the project. Yeah, that's why I thought for sure. That's why I said to Paulette, they're knocking it down. Now, maybe they're leaving a little bit of it, which they believe is sufficient to be within code. You say?
There's no,
I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing. And I think we're thinking like, yeah, then if it's ambiguous, then,
Well, if we can-
they should show us what they're taking out.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Well,
Because if it does, yeah,
It's basically, they say they're leaving the floor deck and a portion of the first floor walls. But
well,
again, a portion is,
it could be anything. It could be anything, right? So, yeah, it's just a little,
This portion could potentially
Well, the
remain because
garage.
it doesn't carry anything.
right, and there's a garage.
right, you could leave a little and the things that don't, yeah.
This, they're not gonna build on a 2x4.
I agree. I don't think it's possible.
No.
And it's a very, inexpensively done construction. I can't imagine adding on top of that. Did you look at that? Yeah. So I don't think it would work. And it's windy down there. I mean, I don't think, nobody's going to put a lot of money into that. They're going to review most of it.
Because it's a beautiful house.
if you look at the architectural plans, they indicate existing construction
Jam
removed.
on that lot. With the
Right.
pool in
You
it.
see, but it's not the whole building,
Okay.
if you look at the architectural plan.
Oh, okay.
So we can say coordinate the architectural plans
Sorry.
with the description. Because if you go through the architectural plans, not removing everything. So,
Well,
So as you look at it, Howard, because
you
Your
look at the
interpretation.
site plan, did you look at the architectural plans that's submitted with it?
very vague because they're showing that they're like removing windows.
Yeah, and replacing windows.
So they're removing that and that, but not that and not that.
okay.
They're removing this, but not that. They're removing interior walls. The front entry, this is all gonna stay, but this isn't.
Chris, as you look at it, I mean, if you could ballpark a percentage of this that's actually going to remain, what do you think from what you're seeing? Because I was looking at this, yeah, I did not go.
I think,
Is it, most of it is going to actually be used, or is there very
Probably.
pathetically a little?
again, I mean, when they're showing the waterside wall, and they're only showing a portion where they're gonna put probably new doors and windows,
Yeah, that's,
percentage-wise,
Okay.
I'd say, I think, and again, we've seen it before, where you get to the point where you got a little piece here and a little piece there, like, just get rid of it.
Right.
Start again. I think,
Which makes sense in most cases,
it would make sense in every case. If you, like you say, you're going to the extent of construction, why would you leave, and again, I don't know what the number is, but if, let's say there's 250 linear feet of
yeah,
stud walls, they're gonna take 150 feet out and leave 100. But it's gonna be a piece here
Yeah.
and a piece there, it's there. What's the point? And then they go, and then they tear the whole house down.
right. Well, I would think that the only point would be if there was a belief that that was what was going to enable them to do this in the first place.
But again, you can,
Isn't that the way you see it? Maybe. Yeah,
you put a stipulation on the permit saying, as per your plan, this is as far as you can go. But that would be a good question for the architect.
Yeah, what we can
Yeah.
do is say, under the part that is that we have everything, construction.
And then, you know, you get down to the deck, so you're gonna leave the floor down, but then, oh, that part's rotten, that part's got wore down. this one.
Right.
So now the floor deck is going, it's like,
Yeah.
so many things you
Imagine that's-
can't see until you get in.
But
Right,
Put on a piece of paper, well, we're only gonna do that, but then, you know, it's sort of this project creep
exactly.
you have to think about.
Well,
What do you want to say to them?
what?
What do you want to say right on the thing?
Well, this is a little difficult in that the likelihood of project creep seems like it would be great, given the structure and what we see as being proposed. And it doesn't make good sense to say, leave things in just because it enables you to grandfather if in fact structurally they're not sound. On the other hand, when you come back to the overarching idea that replacing a non-compliant house with a much larger one, just because there's a perception that the code enables it, does seem like not the right thing to be approving, but I'm having trouble reconciling it.
So again,
It's just a really good point.
you have the existing house. The biggest disruption to the property, the wetlands, would be removal of the foundation.
Yeah, right, right. And that's not happening.
If the foundation remains,
Yes,
they take it down to the concrete and get rid of everything. There's no real detriment to the property other than the tractor coming in and crushing stuff and taking it
You
out.
have that no matter what.
So again,
yeah,
so the question, again,
yeah.
if they're gonna demolish the whole house, then
Well, we could ask for on the description of the project exactly what is being removed. I mean, they say removal of existing single-family dwelling.
down to
Retaining,
some wall, what is this, portion
well,
of the walls?
Another
that's what
one.
they say, floor, deck, and portion.
There's little red
And
lines,
it's, yeah.
you can sort of see.
What would you add? That they clarify item D1, extent of reconstruction?
what's the point behind our code? Why do we grandfather? Someone has a property there. We don't want to push them out of their property. They have a right to use their property. So you grandfather. But grandfather means they can repair their house,
Right,
they can make it pretty, they can do internally, they can do the necessary repairs. But here, when you look at the new plans, it's a new house that they're building and it has a second floor on it, which to me is not grandfather.
Right.
Regardless what technicalities you kind of weave into there to get to that point. So is it within the code or does it go against the code, but we all know, as the guy in the prior meeting said, it's all a game?
Well,
Well, if they look
can
at
ask
that
for-
game, then this
you
is a
can
nice
ask
game.
for,
The end result is pretty, but is that really what we want?
well, we clarify what they're saying, that's what they're doing. They're taking down some of it and keeping other parts. So you want them to clarify that sentence?
No,
No.
I'm not sure that we want to allow people to build bigger houses in places where there shouldn't be any houses to begin with.
doesn't that, yeah.
Well, I don't think you can do that.
Why not?
Because the code allows them to rebuild on a foundation.
If they had a house or they could rebuild.
Not a bigger house.
Well, what they're doing is, I think they're basically replacing
They're building a second story, Howard.
only on part.
Well, it doesn't matter which part.
Well, then we'll ask for a clarification, let them come in, but they don't violate code by building the second floor on the existing part.
Okay, that's where I need to take another look at the code. I think
Yeah.
I read that differently.
Yeah.
Grandfather doesn't mean that, it doesn't say anything about the foundation.
Well, grandfathering, I mean, the way it's typically used you don't expand, you really do, exactly, as was stated, you replace, you repair, but that's what's grandfathered, you're not able to make things bigger.
Right, you don't
Right?
expand the building.
And this isn't, yeah,
Reconstruction with expansion upward within the footprint. There's a permit required within the vegetative buffer, but no permit required within the adjacent buffer. So the 75 to 100, they don't need a wetland permit,
Right. But
but they
they're
need a wetland permit
in 75,
at the, yeah,
Yeah, it's vegetative buffer.
which is why we're here.
the big part of the thing.
But it specifically says reconstruction with expansion. So they're gonna reconstruct and expand, so they have to get a permit.
Yeah. Which they can do it.
It's allowed by code.
by definition, I mean, there is the letter of the code, but then there is the spirit of grandfathering. Grandfathering in building codes means that existing structures are generally exempt from new or updated building code requirements unless they are undergoing renovations or additions. This allows older buildings to continue functioning as they were originally intended, even if they don't, now there's intended, even if they don't meet the latest standards. However, any new construction, expansions, or major renovations on properties must comply with current building codes. So, I mean, there is, and there's a lot,
That's a general definition.
it is a general,
That's not out, is
no, but I'm just.
that out of the
trying to
town
get the
code, or is that just?
No, I just, because the way grandfathering is used is, it's, yeah, you can. Does the town code have a, okay. Oh,
Through the whole thing.
I can't see that.
You have to go through the whole thing. That's the section there, reconstruction. Beyond the footprint is not allowed.
No, reconstruction, with expansion upward within footprint. Required what you said.
Yeah. So they're allowed to do it.
The only place that the term grandfather is in the town code is with irrigation systems. Nothing in the building code.
Okay, well then, yeah, if this is the town code, then they can do it,
Yes.
right? Yeah, okay.
With a permit.
With a permit.
Again, you know, I mean,
Well, that's covered by the building department letter. Denied.
right, so, you know, we're
It's
gonna,
not our
we can ask for mitigation, right?
mitigation.
I'm just saying, you know, they're allowed to do it, but, you know, we would appreciate if you would do X, Y, and Z. They're already putting an IA system in.
Yes.
They're putting a pool outside of the 100, so that's zoning board.
Right.
A couple of dry wells. They're taking an existing 414 square foot deck and they're going to build a new deck, which is just configured differently,
Right. But
which actually
they're
includes,
adding to the deck, which we denied.
it's 414 square foot. And they're going to build the same exact square footage, it's just configured different. It's further out of the,
It's coming out and it's an additional 41 square foot new deck, it says. Right?
so
It's not.
What, new
Not
deck?
much bigger.
existing deck,
Right.
new deck. So the existing deck encroaches
Yeah, but-
further. Here, look, it comes further.
Oh, yeah.
So they're making it less intrusive.
Yeah, they are.
They're gonna make it linear across the house instead of sticking out, so that's better.
That is better.
They're actually adding,
Pergolas, how are they adding?
it says it right here.
Yeah, but 49 foot, and here it's
The plans are really.
it's 44 foot.
Yeah.
So they're pushing it 5 or 6 feet away from the water, so they're making it less intrusive.
Less intrusive.
That's right.
If that's really what they're gonna do.
Well, hopefully they're gonna build the plan,
But you're looking at the existing site plan and you're looking at the proposed site plan.
where they're both on the same page.
Yeah,
So again, it says it's a push square foot wise, but they're making it further away from the wall.
again, one is to scale and the other one is not to scale, so. I mean,
Well-
the plans are very hard to follow.
The wetland permit that's issued by the town board is gonna say the deck shall be 42, whatever it is,
The
49 foot, 49.6 feet.
back from the new one.
And in order to get a certificate of occupancy, they have to get a survey that reflects that. If it's too close, then they have to go back and get another wetland permit.
So that basic, what do we want to add to what we did? Anything?
Well, you said you wanted them to move the dry well.
All the dry wells, yeah. But I have a list here of 10 items.
The air conditioners,
Air conditioner have to move,
pool equipment.
pool equipment has to
They could,
move.
you know, if they're gonna get a variance for the pool, they could put the pool equipment next to the pool. It doesn't have to be,
Oh, yeah, no, but that's what we say.
that's what I'm saying. So I agree.
Right, that would be,
We want them to move the pool equipment, you want to move the air conditioning.
Exactly.
Like, push that out, if they're gonna go for a variance for the pool, hopefully they won't get it. What is it, 10 foot from the road?
yeah, that would be fine.
So let the zoning board do it.
Right,
We want it out of the wetland.
yeah.
That's right, that's what.
That's it.
And-
That's
and-
our job to talk about
And
it.
I think the dry wells on the water side of the house,
Yeah,
if you push those way out front past the 100, by the time you get enough pitch on those pipes, those dry wells are gonna be 30 feet underground, you know what I mean? Because they need, you know, you need like a quarter inch or a half inch per foot run. So, I mean, if they can get them out of the 75, maybe push them in the adjacent regulated area instead would be better.
then
There
that,
seems to be enough room, they can, instead of being next to each other.
they could come back and say that. We're saying get it out at 100. If they have to go a pipe, you know, for 50 feet with a slope of 1 inch.
But again, I'm just trying to be realistic, you know, if we can get them to make it
Well,
better than they're proposing.
the main,
They want them 50 feet to the bulkhead. If we can get them 80 feet to the bulkhead, that's better.
well,
We can ask for 100,
they should come back and tell us.
but again, now you also have separation distances from the dry wells to the well. So the well, that
I know.
precludes a lot of, you have to make
Yeah.
circles.
Sure. It's
This
also,
is a shoehorn lot. They've got a lot of stuff going on.
it's an awful lot on a small lot.
It really is. That's the issue.
But that's why I have 18 items listed here, you know. I didn't miss the 10 items listed here. For them to do what we have listed, they're gonna start from scratch. I don't know what they're gonna do. So, I mean, I'm not gonna tell them to take the dry well and try to fit it in here, which would be too close to the regular well or to the, I'm just saying, get it out 100 foot. They have to submit a
Right,
new
they can figure it
plan.
out.
That's for them, that's why they have an engineer.
Couple of things, they're locked in. Okay, Suffolk County Department of Health tells them where the well goes
Yeah,
and where the septic goes.
yeah,
And then the other things have to be wedged in where they fit, which is, I understand why he did what he did. And we can say, we'll push the dry wells out of the 100. Well, if they're anywhere out of the 100, well, they're right next to the well.
yeah.
Department of Health can say no.
So they could put it way up by the new,
I don't know what that separate, I don't know,
pond.
20 feet or,
I'm not even sure they meet the health department. We haven't got that plan yet. Which is but the health department will always do variances for you. They don't, they might have in their priority that it must be 100 feet. But if they can only get 95, they're gonna allow it.
and they're gonna get a variance.
They get a variance.
So then they're gonna, if this plan has been approved by the Department of Health, and the town or we say no, they gotta go back to the Department of Health
You know, look,
to get the variance.
first of all, they haven't even got the
Well, I'm sure, I don't think Matt would not have a Department of Health.
Well, why wouldn't he submit it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's me. I don't know.
It seems like a lot of work for someone to say, we wanna do this, we don't have any other approvals. I think they must have the approval, so I think that's a quick
What
follow.
we're asking for.
Yeah.
To see it.
Right, and that's on your list of 18.
Yeah. I mean,
So I don't disagree with your list. Just,
you want to add to it, anybody?
Oh,
So we'll submit that and they'll come and say, I'm sure they'll come back and say, well, we can't do this. Well, and show us why you can't do this. Yeah, that's all. We just, I mean, that's what I think anyway. And there are plenty, the other thing I didn't mention is that the water, the elevation of the test well, the bottom, it says water encountered elevation 1.1. It should be at 11.1. Let me put that on too.
Oh, yeah, I'd seen that.
See the mistake. I think the plans are disgraceful. And they're stamped. I think they're terrible. But that's my opinion. That's, well. See, test well indicate correct elevation for water encountered. Okay. And we're not here to redesign this project. We're just figuring out what it has to correct.
Right.
How he does it, maybe he decide not to do it. But it's up to them.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's a beautiful site. Yes. Oh, sorry, Pam, I was looking at the, yes, Pam, what's the question?
No, that's okay, Howard. It's been Matt's regular practice these days to not get the Suffolk County Department of Health permit when there's ZBA variances that are required. And if you look at the denial letter, there are area and special permits required for this. If you look at the planning board memo, there's a whole lot more information, which I think is relevant to your discussion tonight. So it's possible that Matt is trying to see if he's going to get approval from the ZBA before he follows through on the Suffolk County Department of Health permit, because he cannot get the permit unless the ZBA approves the variances. So I've just noticed he's sort of changed his protocol on how he goes about, processing these applications that need these permits.
Yeah.
But what are the plans there? The plan that he put in as the proposed site plan does show the 75-foot line and the 100-foot line. And then there's a plan submitted by Popisil. I guess it's the second one in the package that seems to have the red dotted line as what's existing and what's not. I know it's really very unclear. And I know that the planning board also had trouble finagling these plans because the north arrow wasn't in the same direction, and the same thing that you said with the scales being different, and it's very hard to follow the application. So I don't know how you want to go forward with that, but I know that that's how Matt Sherman has been presenting things to the ZBA, that he needs ZBA variances before he continues with the Suffolk County permit, the Department of Health permit. So I just
Agree,
thought you'd
and
like to know that, yeah.
that's why in the beginning I said that if there's any changes to the ZBA, which hasn't seen these yet, been worked on or approved, that they have to resubmit the plans. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, the plans are not very well coordinated. They're not coordinated at all. I mean, the vegetation plan doesn't match the consultant's plans for the vegetation, so I think that's the last item. Resubmit drawing after zoning board approval is obtained. Pretty simple, right? So, what do you think? You got everything? Anything else you want to add? Anybody?
I don't think so.
Not getting into the energy efficiency construction, that's not our department.
Building code.
That's not us, that's all.
No, it's fine.
And the variances are required by the health department. They have to see that, and they have to give us that red line, which is a drawing that's approved by the health department, to show that that's been done. All right, now, anybody want to make a proposal that we accept the 11 items on my list?
Yes, I so move.
Okay, take a vote. Okay, 5-0. So this project is
On hold.
Disapproved, let's put. It's 5-0. I met the gentleman, very nice man. Very nice man. Maybe he's been misled by the consultants. Okay. So that's our site plan. These, I think I'll hang on to just in case. I usually throw them out if you do it, but. And the plans are very nice. Okay. Now. Roxanne, the non-invasive species, which we just got a copy.
Yeah, how many copies do we have?
Well, I took one.
There's one for everyone. Okay, can we pass them out, Howard?
Yeah.
Great. All right, 2 here, all out. Yes, thank you, Jess, for getting these done. Yes, well, what we're seeking is approval on this document, but just to say a couple of things. Jim Patel, who everybody knows, is incredibly wonderful, hardworking, devoted, and forges ahead and assumes full responsibility for development of these things. So you put to really commend him on what is an enormous effort here. He put together a piece. There's going to be a second portion of this, but this is the native plant list. What we asked specifically was, we're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible to get as many residents on the island as we can to, plant as much native plant material as is possible. So Tim did he began with to make the case for the importance of native plants. And obviously you can read what he has to say there, but I think it was a persuasive way of doing that in a short, user-friendly fashion. He took the time to put together a plant key list too, so you could see what's deciduous, what's evergreen, and then also to make it easier for people to plant or have their gardeners do the planting, to make it clear that they thrive in sun, shade, dry soil, moist soil. So it's nice, it's coded, and it makes it really easy. A lot of lists that you get are not denoted in that way. And then what he did is he drew attention to the ones that he thought were really the most valuable by giving us these boxes and photos and a more full explanation of some that I think he's really in a subtle but important way trying to say we need more of these. And so I think the case was made really well about reducing insecticides. We talked about that. And then he tries to make it easy by saying you can put these in, but you can also mix them with non-native plants. And then he concludes by giving you some references. So I'm sure that there are some people, I know not how many, who would want to do additional reading themselves on this, but he did, I think, come up with a nice list of supplemental materials and websites if you wanted to really do some investigating. So I think it was wonderfully done, short and sweet, which is what we had wanted. What we're doing tonight is asking for approval to post this on the town website if in fact you think it's at a place where it can be. We did review a draft document, make recommendations. Tim did the revisions, and it looks nice and useful. And so there's that. And then also we did ask, there was not a similar document for invasives, so Tim's working on that now. We did say we'd like to have photos there too, because you really need to be able to identify those in your own garden. So he's doing that, and I don't know specifically when we'll get that, but I imagine it won't be too far out because he's been working pretty dutifully at producing these. So, yes. So, yeah. So I guess I would say, do we feel that this is at a place where we can post it on the town site? As we wanted to
Put it on our website.
Okay.
I don't see any.
Okay.
reason why we, right
Why we
now,
would
we
not.
say refer to the Long Island Native Plant Association listing, and we put that on, so we can add this to it.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can, yeah, I think Tim was trying to be very Shelter Island specific with that. Sure, there's more.
He wants Shelter Island to be more colorful.
Yeah, but it's a real practical little document, even saying, we could do a meadow if you have a portion of unused lawn. So I think he's trying in a really, appropriate, easy way to try to entice more people to do more and make it simple enough that they might actually do it. So, I think the approach he took, when you read it and you think about his thought process, I think it was smart. So, yes. And so I think we ought to roll this out, everywhere we possibly can, because it makes such a difference. And then, of course, the invasives will follow.
Because
Anyway,
he lists the Long Island Native Plant Initiative on.
yes, he does.
Same as we have on already.
Right, we just put that on because we didn't have anything else, because nobody developed anything that was Shelter Island.
Details of it. We have a list, but the list is not.
It wasn't updated, and I think Dan said just, use this, which was fine.
Right.
But I think that, if we wanted to,
This is
I think
great.
Tim wanted a Shelter Island document, and he did it, and he has his name on it if there are questions. So if it looks okay,
I'd say we should
I would say,
ask the town to.
might we agree to post it? And I don't know if we want to keep copies. I don't know if anybody ever comes in here to, and the other piece would be, should this not be given to local greenhouses? I mean, Dan, if you were here, could you take it to White Oak? Is Dan the better person to be doing that? I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to do that as well.
It's not Dan.
Yeah.
Dan cuts down the trees with his cousin.
Yeah, one cuts them, one plants them, right, exactly. But yeah, I know that they're connected. But my question is, do we want to try to enlist the support of local greenhouses in providing certainly the material, the plant material, think about it, buy it, supply it, and then encourage it, right?
I think
Yeah,
maybe you could go to Clark's and
absolutely. Happy to do that, yeah.
just ask him, bring a copy of the list.
Yeah.
Say, what do you
Okay.
think? So we get the local people
Sure.
involved with it. That'd be great if we could do that.
Yeah, maybe we could get the reporter to, put a little synopsis in, too, right?
Also at the Green Options Committee.
And Green Options will have, yeah. Let's hope we get, yeah. So, okay, yes. So, all right.
On that, everybody agree on that? That's all right?
Okay.
Good. Okay, fine.
Oh, Pam has a question. Yes, Pam.
Yes, Pam.
Yeah, I just wondered if you folks are aware that Suffolk County has a do not sell list on plant material. And they upgrade it, they update it, every 2 years or so. So it's specifically generated to the people in the industry in the garden centers of plants that they are not permitted to sell any longer in Suffolk County because they are invasive. I can try to find the most current copy and send it off to you folks so you can take a look at that too. It might be something also to consider in posting on the town website.
Absolutely, Pam, that's
That
great.
It might be something that people could see there and say, oh, wait, this guy's selling Liatris, but no, that's on the do not sell list and I better not buy it and put it in my garden because it will
Right.
take over my waterways. So it's just another list out there that is available to the public to take into consideration, and the local garden centers must comply with that list. And I do believe California Privet is on it, by the way, which I just saw on the last plan there, and I don't think you're allowed to sell California Privet any longer.
Interesting.
Just a little more information for you to consider going forward, and maybe the town board would like to take that up as well.
If you could just send the copy to Jessica and she'll make extra copies of that.
And then just when I go around to people, if we could have a copy of that as well, then I'll make sure everybody sees it and I talk about it, and
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be
So if we
helpful.
get a copy, we could review that, and then at the Green Options Fair, we could have that out.
We'll have that. Great. Okay, thanks, Pam.
Okay, I'll make sure I send that to Jessica.
Thank
Okay,
you very much.
perfect.
The other thing I have is the Green Options is August 23rd. And it's only from 11 to 3, so I think we could get somebody there. Just be maybe 2 people, if you can, whatever. We'll have a booth there. We could coordinate with Tim or, not Tim, no, he's got another person doing it. Tim's so busy, so he has another person coordinating it. And then Tim is working on something. He's going to have a meeting July 17th at the Presbyterian Church on plants and stuff. So look out for something that he's going to come up on that. I just want to get you aware to think about that. It's in the evening, I think, 5:30 or something. So you can go to that, that would help. And he's probably going to ask us to have some people there.
Oh, absolutely. July 17.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I think I can do that.
keep it in mind.
Right,
It would be very helpful.
would be good.
Okay, let's see what else we have.
I was thinking maybe if they're in the reporter, if they could put something in before that, the week before, do a little synopsis, and then the following week, a little something about Tim and the talk, to raise visibility for this, that might,
Well, probably
Nice.
Tim is doing that already. You could.
Okay,
check with
yeah,
him.
check with him.
Check with him, see what he says. I
Okay.
think he's probably done.
I'll ask, yeah.
Yep. I think it covered that. No old business. Business, that's with Tim at the Presbyterian Church on the 17th. He's going to send something out, and the Green Expo is from 11 to 3 on the 23rd, so. Okay. Anything else? Anything from the town liaison office right there? Okay, already, we heard
We're
everything.
going to finish up the wetland work.
Well, that's not for this discussion here, but that's going to be an interesting meeting from my point of view, because we have a wetlands code, but it should be a wetlands protection code. We don't have anything to do with wetlands. That's all DEC. But we'll do that tomorrow. Because I might be mistaken that we'll have everybody there tomorrow to discuss. Okay. Take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your help.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll
Thanks.
lay us on.
Jessica, do you get the